Hi, and thank you for watching TargetedWest.com's podcast and show. Thank you for participating live here in beautiful Lodi on the freeconferencecall.com platform. It is 59 degrees tonight. We got the heater going. Brr, in beautiful Lodi, beautiful California, where it's overpriced and overrated. Tonight we have a guest. It is 427, which is a good engine, and it's show number 162. This is our 162nd show in a series of shows that we've gone nonstop doing, and nothing will stop us at this point. The opinions of our guests and the people in the chat and what have you are that of their own and not that of Targeted West or DJ Chris. We've got my co-producer name in the chat room. We've got caller. We've got everybody queued up, and we're ready to go. This is a peaceful work group. We discuss the fourth industrial revolution and concept, talk about technologies that are used to torture us. And tonight we have a special guest. One of the founders of the Targeted Justice group is Midge Mathis, and she's here tonight to discuss some topics that are of concern to her and stuff that we need to know about in this targeted community so we can continue going on in a safe manner. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Midge Mathis. Come on in.
Hi, Chris. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. It's great to see you.
Yeah, it's been a while since I did a complete podcast on the show. So I have a lot of information tonight. It's basically going to be two parts. So should I tell everyone a little bit about myself?
Yes, you should, because there's a lot of new callers that haven't met you yet.
Okay, who am I? Well, I refer to myself as a deep state ex-wife. I was married to someone who is a DoD contractor, who has government contracts for communications, who is very involved in the targeting community, has contracts with Homeland Security to do surveillance, and with the FBI. So a lot of this started while we were married, when we started contracting with the government. So at the time I didn't know much, but I've come to understand quite a bit, and so I have probably a little bit more information than most people. I have to say that because of, who I was married to, I have probably gotten farther than most TIs. I also am one of the original founders of Targeted Justice, which we started in December of 2017, and I'm very proud of the work that we did. We went to D.C. 3 times. We spoke with over 300 legislators. We blanketed D.C. We did protests at the CIA headquarters. None of this is easy. None of it is simple. We went to Intel. And so we did a lot of stuff in the beginning, but going to D.C. was one of the highlights, I think, since I've been targeted. We also held a rally in 2019. And we did a lot of activism. We were always on the go. So I did that. And in my former life, I was in the medical field. I worked emergency room for over 18 years. I was an EMT. I also worked in behavioral health. I worked for 2 different governors for the state of Arizona. I worked at a behavioral health hospital. So I know quite a bit about that subject. And now I am an elected official for the state of Oregon. I moved out of Arizona years ago because of the severity of my targeting. I'm also a counselor in the town that I'm living in, and on the I'm one of the city officials. I'm one of the administrators. And it's, with my plan to kind of come at targeting a little bit differently. But also, I'm going to encourage all of you to do the same to start living your life. Don't let targeting destroy your life, and do not let it define who you are. Please, make that decision to start living your life, and you can. I know it's hard, but the more you do it, the easier it will get. So I'm not in the community much anymore because of all the things that I have going on. I'm a mother and a grandmother, and it has been really hard with my targeting because some of my family members have been targeted as well. So, do you want me to keep going, Chris?
Yes, great. Keep going.
Okay. So, I have been asked to be here tonight to talk to you for some of the professionals that are helping TIs at the different facilities that are doing scans and some of the other doctors. So the reason they have asked me to be here is because there's been some issues that have come up with some TIs, and some of the behavior has to stop. In the past, I've been a TI for a long time. In the past, it was understood that were certain protocols that one should take when going forward with our cases and when we interface with specialists and how we conduct ourselves. It's very, very important that we pay attention to that. So when I was first targeted and I got my scans, I was schooled by, and taught by the professionals that were helping me. And number one, one of my purposes was to protect those who were helping me. Because what happens is if we go around throwing their names around and what they do, what do you think is going to happen to them? They're going to get harassed. Back in the day, we had a surgeon, we had psychiatrists, psychologists, we had special doctors, we had industrial toxicologists, we had a whole team of doctors that used to help TIs. We no longer have those in place like we used to. It was a networking system, and they all worked together. And so, we had like 8 lawsuits that were successful and were won because of this team that helped TIs. But what has happened is that one by one they've left the community, and they no longer want to help TIs because of the harassment they received from targeted individuals from the community. None of them deserve that. They have been here to help us, but you can't blame someone for leaving if all they get is harassment. And unfortunately, some TIs, instead of focusing on who did this to you and shutting this program down, they want to get mad at the people who are trying to help them. So we must keep in mind that one of our jobs is to not throw around their information on these podcasts. That never used to happen. It was all done in secrecy as a protection measure to help them, because if we don't have them, we don't have anything. So we don't want to help destroy them. We want to protect them. I've been on some of these podcasts. I've heard some names being thrown around. I heard one person talk in detail what was done to him, the scans, and what they found. That is an absolute no-no. First of all, if you ever plan on going forward with a court case, you don't ever throw your information out there on a podcast. You're just going to destroy your case. So, but also, you just don't throw your information out there. You have signed, every single professional has an NDA that we have to sign, and that's to protect you and to protect them. And so you must uphold that NDA agreement, otherwise you could be sued. So it's really been upsetting to hear some of this information being thrown around on the podcast, and I'm just going to ask you guys not to do that. Please respect these folks who are trying to help us, and in turn, it's better for you as well. Also, if you plan on seeing John Kingston and getting a scan, if he detects anything, then he refers you to a group of doctors who will do more intense scanning and different holistic procedures. So what's happening is that second part, people are calling, TIs are calling, they've already seen John, they get a referral, they'll call, and then they cancel the appointment. And the people who are the advocates don't know if you're going to call back. They don't know what your plan is. There's no communication. Should they just put your papers aside? And always remember that the second part of this, the doctors, they don't just treat TIs. They have a full business. And so just be courteous and kind. Do not make appointments that you can't keep. We all know things happen, but don't keep making appointments and not show up or you cancel. The other thing is that we have people that are jumping the line and calling the advocacy hotline and trying to get information about these naturopathic holistic doctors, and that's not okay. You cannot see these doctors, and you have no right to know their names or anything until you see John Kingston first, get your scans, and then, like I said, if he detects something, then he will refer you to these special doctors. And, you know, when you do a linear junction, you know, obviously it picks up the frequencies if you have an RFID chip. So if that happens, then you do get a referral to these other doctors. And the reason I should probably back up a little bit. When I had my scans done, and a lot of people don't know about this, but there are different types of scans that pick up different things. So I had also a thermal imaging scan, and what that picked up, which maybe some of you have never heard of this before, is called telephoresis. And you can pull it up on YouTube. There's videos. Telephoresis is a huge wiring, networking system in the legs and the arms that have sensors throughout, which is recording and sending data. I myself have that in both my legs and both my arms. And I know other people who have been diagnosed with the same. So the second part of the referral to these holistic doctors, because of the scans they do, can pick up the telephoresis if you have it. And I don't know, also back in the day, we did a hair analysis test with an industrial toxicologist to see exactly what you had in your system, because some people have been poisoned. I know one person had rattlesnake venom in his body, because we are, human test subjects. I had arsenic in my body. And so I don't know. I don't think any of the professionals are doing that right now. You might have to go to a forensic laboratory to have that done. And I know this isn't simple. I get it. We're not supposed to be dealing with this. I mean, how are we to know what we're supposed to do, right? Back in the day when I first got targeted, I had no idea, even though I was from the medical field, I didn't know that people were being implanted. So, it was a big shock to my system when I realized what had been done to me. And if you go forward with a court case, well, what you should do is you should get your copies of your medical records, but it has to be certified. I'm going to encourage all of you to do that anyhow, whether you plan on going forward or not. Get a copy of your medical records, and as you do that, ask for the billing records as well. That's really important because I'll tell you why. On the billing records, you'll see exactly what was charged to you, charged to your insurance company, what was done. And a friend of mine who did go on to have a court case, he saw that through those billing records that he was implanted because guess what? They were charged for it. The doctor was also paid for it. So those billing records are just as important. And so you might be surprised what you find on that. So I also want to talk about, after you see John, then you'll get a referral for a total body scan. And they do detect all kinds of things. They examine the internal structures. They confirm presence of any foreign bodies or anomalies. And most of us have a little antenna that has been put in our body, and that is oftentimes how we are tracked, even though I know we have our phones and different things. But also, when I had my scans done, it was detected that I had smart dust in my system. So I'm not sure what all you guys are getting on your reports for those of you who have seen some of the people that are scanning, but there's a lot of different things that you can find out by going to an industrial toxicologist. The bad part is that the industrial toxicologist we had is no longer practicing. And so maybe you guys know of an industrial toxicologist you can go to or you can research it. But those industrial toxicologists know a lot. And there's certain tests that they do in order to confirm what has been done to you. The implants are owned by different corporations or the government. So each implant has a number that identifies it or a stamp as to who owns it. I think the CIA has a wolf stamp. And, it's inconceivable, right, that, this is even going on. But each implant carries a frequency. And that frequency is registered with the FCC. So the FCC is complicit and knows exactly what is going on. They're labeled medical devices. And it goes through a system with the FCC called medical radio. You can look it up, or med radio. Oftentimes they just call it med radio. So the FCC carries all these frequencies, and they are considered medical devices. And that's just kind of hard for me to comprehend. It's hard for me to comprehend that anybody would think they had the right to implant me, trying to make my life a prison planet. So anyhow, so there's just, a lot of different information, and I know it gets really confusing sometimes as to where do you go, and I would like to see in the future that this system is made simple, that you don't have to jump around going here, going there, that you have doctors in one place that can treat you. And this was something that I had always thought about even from the beginning. It's hard enough just being targeted and then having to jump through hoops to get all the information. And it's shocking, right? It throws you into trauma, even more trauma to find out that, golly, somebody did this to me and they didn't have the right to do that. So, I hope that in the future that we have clinics to go to. And as far as I'm concerned, we shouldn't have to pay for one thing. I think TIs have paid dearly And I would hope that someday in the future that this can happen. And it's an overwhelming task to think about starting a clinic. There's just so much that needs to be done. And if you haven't been in the medical field, oh my, there's just, an incredible amount of work, and you have to get certified, you have to get licensed, you have to get your providers. But just hope and pray that, someday this will happen for us, because it needs to happen. So,
Great. I have a quick question. Someone in the chat room wanted to know is, how do you get all of this done and you're still being targeted? What gives you that energy? What motivates you?
Oh gosh. Well, first of all, I don't call myself a targeted individual anymore. I don't identify myself as that. I'm so much more than that, as you all are too. So I don't identify as a TI whatsoever, because I have a life to live. And I think that when we give up and give over our power and say, this is it, don't make it easy for them. You are so much more than that. So I just remind myself, and then, I decided a long time ago that I needed to do other projects, because, this is not who I am. And I've always either been in medicine or the political scene, or I was a developer in Arizona shortly, for a while, for a couple of years, which I designed $1 million homes and built them. So you all are so much more than this. And I'm going to encourage you all to live your lives, however that might be, because that will give you the will and the power, to go on. And I don't care what it is. It's Kathy O'Brien who says the two best things you can do is to journal, because it has got cursive writing that opens up the neural pathways in your brain and does healing. And the other thing is to be mindful of your time, because oftentimes we either get on our phones or the computer, and before you know it, the day is gone. That's a form of mind control. So just be mindful of your time. And this all comes from Kathy O'Brien. If you guys don't know who she is, please look her up. She is an amazing.
We interviewed her on this channel 2 years ago. She's a great person.
She is amazing.
She just interviewed with Alex Jones recently.
Yes, she did. I think that he had interviewed her like years and years ago when her husband was alive. So this was
30 years ago. 30.
Yeah, a wonderful moment. But she is quite the person, that lady. She's amazing. She's very strong, and it was her husband who told her about how to regain, and to get out of mind control. At one time I had a wonderful marriage counselor who knew all about this, and she used to tell me to drink cold water when you kind of feel like you're detaching and you're just kind of out there. Drink cold water and put ice on the back of your neck, and that will bring you back to center. Or if you're having a panic attack, that helps as well. So, but, I think going forward for me has just been, well, because I'm stubborn. I'm not going to let these guys win. I have a life, and I'm not one of those that I don't think it's my neighbors at all. No, I'm not to say that some of them aren't stalkers, but I do want to talk about the gang stalking a little bit, because I see a lot of people on X who just devote all their energies and everything, their focus on the stalking. And I'm going to encourage people not to do that. And the only reason, that I have been able to move on, or not the only reason, one of the reasons, is because I had where my stalking started. I was friends with the chief of police. I was well liked in town. I was teaching at a high school, and the chief of police, we were friends. And so I told him what was going on. I did a presentation one day to the chief of police and his detectives, and halfway through, the chief put his hand up and he said, we believe you. He says, we know what's going on. And, the town wasn't that big, like 65,000 people. So I knew that they knew. But, they were just trying to respect me and to validate what I was saying and my truth. Well, it was those guys that told me not to pay attention to the gang stalking. The gang stalking is used, as you well know, as a psyop. Their purpose is to distort your sense of reality. Okay, so this is being told to me by professionals in the field. So the purpose is to distort your sense of reality. It's also to keep you from focusing on what is important. And what is important is going forward, if you can afford it, getting the testing that you need, whatever it is to build your case, if that's the path you choose. But also our purpose is to tell our truth and to get the information out there to bring this program down. The stalking is stalking by proxy. I had a judge who pointed that out to me one time when I was getting an order of protection. And she said it's actually called stalking by proxy. And the judge said, unfortunately, there are no laws governing stalking by proxy. Now, I don't know if that was just told to me, who knows. But at the time I believed her. And if anyone came forward and especially those who I assumed knew what was going on, I listened to them. I learned early on, you don't act out. Be mindful of what you say. Keep calm, because they want you to fall into their traps. They want you to act out. They want you to act crazy. They want you to say crazy stuff. And, you can't fall for any of that. You've got to be smarter than. And just know also that this is a big business. This business is a business of the elite, of wealthy people who have ties to the government. And it's a business, like I said, they're going to do some things as cheaply as possible. They're not going to spend a ton of money. So they use the stalking a lot. And they used to, I saw something on X the other day, and somebody was posting pictures of the same colored cars, and it's like, don't go there. Don't waste your time and energy. Nothing's ever going to happen. The police aren't going to do anything, and it makes you look crazy, but that's why they do it. So I know it's hard, but if you can ignore it, you'll be better off. Because what fun is it if you keep stalking someone, they don't care? Well, that's just no fun for the ones who are doing it.
That's true. Do you mind if we take a quick break, and then we can switch and pivot over to what you got planned for 2025, of course.
Okay.
So let's just play a brief message from our friends at TI Events, Alex and Jamie.
Jamie, being a targeted individual is so isolating. I don't know who to trust or where to turn.
I totally get it, Alex. That's how I felt too, until I found TIEvents.org.
TIEvents.org? What's that?
It's a site that lists everything for TIs. Conference calls, webinars, in-person events, support groups, meetups, and more. There's something happening every day.
Well, that's exactly what I need. Real support from people who understand.
You'll find it all at TIEvents.org. It's been a game changer for me.
TIEvents.org, your one-stop source for all targeted individual events. Visit today and connect with your community.
That's TIEvents.org. We're talking to Midge Mathis. You're listening in to TargetedWest.com. Thank you for watching us or listening to us on your favorite platforms. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you. Midge, what do you got planned for 2025?
A lot.
Wow.
Well, first of all, I'm living my life. I get out in nature as much as possible, and that's one of the reasons why I live where I live. I'm surrounded by beautiful mountains and a lot of wildlife, bighorn sheep, mountain goats, wild turkeys, eagles, because one of the ways that we can keep ourselves healthy is to get out in nature, get away from everything. Stop talking about this. Don't keep talking about the targeting program day in and day out, because the more you focus on that, the more you're going to focus on it. So I have some traveling I want to do, and I'm always, maybe I'm not always on some of the social media platforms talking about targeting, but I'm always doing something behind the scenes, going to conferences, which I started doing a number of years ago, and interfacing with people like the Flynn family and George Papadopoulos, who wrote a book while he was working in the Trump administration the first time, called Deep State Target. He was targeted. So I've been able to interface with a lot of people that I started doing years and years ago. So I don't know, what are your plans for 2025, Chris?
Well, promote my books and keep going on with this conference through the year, and be consistent and mindful, and make sure you do a good job, best you can do. I don't know if this is a touchy subject, but let's pivot over to this. Can you talk about some of the experiences that some of those people had on that one day in January? Did you want to discuss any of that at all in detail, or give us a hint?
You mean the J6ers?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, I know some of the J6ers personally.
And they've been targeted.
Horribly targeted. I saw that there was a podcast one night, and I jumped on it, and it was one of the J6ers, one of the key people that you saw on TV that day. And he was talking about directed energy weapons, and that he had B2K. He has B2K. Lindsay and I happened to be on there. Lindsay with Targeted Justice happened to be on there as well. And so we both got to speak. They didn't know. The two hosts had no clue, the J6ers, that this was even a program. They knew nothing, so we told them. And so I've been in touch with several of them. They're targeted just like we are. They've gone through years of being horrifically treated. They still are. And, the family's mistreated. I mean, I hear all kinds of stories.
So they go after the family, too? It sounds like the mafia.
Yeah. Oh, exactly. You think. Certainly the cartel, government cartel.
Well, it is kind of a cartel or syndicate, basically, is what it is,
Yes, exactly. So it's happening to a lot of people. It's not just us. This is no secret. This program is no secret. I've said that from day one. There are people in D.C. that are also being targeted. We know that Randy Quaid, the actor, is a TI, Roseanne Barr, that one singer, what's his name? Last name is Van. Hello,
Van
Chris.
Morrison.
And Van Morrison, yeah, he's a TI. He wrote.
I'm targeted. That's on my hold music. Yeah, he's targeted. Yep. That's just it's called The Long Con. It's available on Amazon.
Yeah. So, no longer is this plausible deniability. When I first became a target, everybody used that term all the time, and it was horrible. Well, And guess what? They don't say that anymore. You see people saying directed energy weapons dues, people who aren't even, TIs. And it's like, finally, we worked so hard to get here that it has, finally become a subject matter that is understood by journalists, people in the media, and so forth and so on, that this is real and this is happening.
Right, yeah, it's like peeling back an artichoke or an onion. You peel each layer back and you get to the truth in the middle.
Yeah, but, a lot of people have gone through a lot to get here, and it should have never happened. I can think back on so many people that are no longer here that, went through horrible things, and it just makes me sad. And, of course, Chris and I, we have a really good friend, Linda Costanzo, who we lost a number of years ago. We talk about her all the time, huh, Chris? She was just a wonderful person.
Yeah.
Wonderful person. So I just wanted to touch on something about if you proceed and go forward. There's different ways to look at this, but if you have been implanted non-consensually during a medical procedure, or say at a facility where you had something done, and you discover that you've been implanted, well, that is considered a foreign object because you did not consent to it. So you can go to a personal injury attorney. And, but you have to have a biopsy, or you have to have an implant removed, and then you have to do a chain of custody to a doctor if you are going to follow through like this. And I know it gets, the steps are just ridiculous, but nevertheless, this is how it has to happen. So you have to sue, and I'm not an attorney. I don't give out legal advice. I have been involved in some of these lawsuits because I used to do research. I helped with a lawsuit in Tennessee that was won by a guy that had been non-consensually implanted in the emergency room. And the attorneys reached out to me to help them. And they also, the person that did his scan and my scan, the judge had asked her to fly to the courtroom or fly to the state in Tennessee and do a demonstration of what she did to scan. And she did. And the judge was really awesome. And this person won their lawsuit because of all the steps that they took to prove what had happened to him. So you can go forward with a personal injury claim, but you have to do it in the state. You have to file a claim. You have to do it in the state where you were harmed, where you were implanted. And so you can state a personal injury claim. It's considered assault and battery, and it's an invasion of privacy. I know we all think of civil suits and stuff like that, but also this is another route that has been taken by TIs in the past, and they have been successful.
Gotcha. We had a question from the private message to me from Jay. I think I know who that is. I think that's somebody in California. He wants to know if the tinnitus and that type of effect went away after the implant was taken out.
You got to say that again. You broke up horribly. I heard tinnitus.
Did the tinnitus go away after the implants were removed?
Well, I have no idea. I don't know of anyone that's had anything removed in the head area that stopped their tinnitus. I've never talked with anyone that has had that done. I do know people that have forced speech, and they had an implant put in their throat, which is what I have as well. And what happens with these implants is they get calcifications growing around them. A really good book was written by Dr. Staniger called the Global Brain Chip Book, which she did send to President Trump when he was in office the first term.
I think I have it's in our book club.
Yes. And, well, Trump sent her a personal thank you note saying that he did receive it and he thanked her. And so when I say this is not a secret, it is not a secret. I know from one of the specialists that used to help us, she has seen wives of senators and children of different legislators and stuff. So, this is a global program, and I will say that it is by the deep state, and it is of the elitists. You have to usually have a lot of money to be put into this group, this club, and it is a business. So it's a business that we need to stop.
And it is a business we need to stop. Well, we have almost 80 people here, and they're all ready to ask you questions if you want to go. We got Deb K. Coloring over there in the corner. My new coloring book that's out with the colored fishies. She'll be doing different fishies because each fish is different. So that's tonight's coloring book. We're switching to the mute all mode so that people can star 6 and ask you a question if you don't mind. How's that sound?
That sounds really good.
Okay. Okay, we're with Midge Mathis here at TargetedWest.com, and if you have a question for Midge, come on in. Now's the time. Any questions for Midge? So one at a time, please. Star 6.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Hi, Midge. I'm having a problem with, I'm heavily surveillanced, and in 2021, I tried to get a thermal scan. I was told that the lady who does the thermal scans would call me back. When she did call, I could hear a man in the background in her office, telling her what to say and directing how the conversation would go. And when I asked a question, I could hear him say, "It's time to hang up now." And she said, "I have to go," and she hung up. How do you get these scans and proof if they're constantly on top of you?
How long ago did that happen, did you say?
That one in particular was in 2021, but I've been trying to go to other doctors and try to get my scans, and it's been, they're like right on top of me.
Okay, well, there's two different people that are doing the scans right now.
Yes, I am. I know their names. Thank you.
Okay, so you call and you leave a message with the secretary or whatever, and they will, or an email. I think one prefers an email. They will get in touch with you, and you can make an appointment.
Okay. All right. Yeah, but I'm just having a real difficult time with doctors and trying to get my proof as well. I mean, they are just right there.
Regular doctors don't do that, okay? They're not going to tell you that you've been implanted and all that stuff because that's not what they do. So you have to go get a specific scan in order to identify if you've been implanted non-consensually and where they are and the frequency of that implant.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for the question. Next question for Midge Mathis. Come on in.
Hi. You go ahead.
I went out and got a scan that showed up some very intense things in a whole bunch of locations, particularly at the brainstem. And this man who did the scan said that this particular, the red signal at the GHZ with a magnitude of 6 dBm is only present during the PN junction scan of me, and this is a super high frequency band. It is restricted to government use.
If I were you, I wouldn't put any of my personal information out there for everybody to hear.
Okay. Well, I did it.
It's truthful.
And I have to make a decision if I am going to have a scan that will locate a foreign body. And and it'd be a miracle. I don't believe I have, well, I might have nanotechnology. I'm sure that's the case. But it seems to me I could get another scan, pay for another scan, and
Did you have a question for Midge, Mathis, or are you just telling us your story?
well, I want to know if a foreign body is found, then what happens? I guess, getting surgery is a mystery to me. I don't know if you know anyone that's been successful.
Unfortunately, I have a black screen. I have to come right back. I'll be back.
Okay.
I'll be back in a minute.
Okay.
What is your favorite point of view?
Does anyone else have a question for Midge while we're waiting on DJ Chris?
I have one. Can I proceed? I have a question.
Sure.
Okay. My perps began attacking my legs with directed energy weapons around the 18th. I have been tortured since 2012, but they began severely attacking my legs with dew for 10 days, and I haven't been able to walk. I can use a walker, or for the last 10 days I've been using a walker, but I can barely even stand or walk using it. I'm in severe pain. I went to the ER Wednesday. They prescribed prednisone, and now they did this to me in January, the same exact thing, and the prednisone worked great. It was miraculous. Like the next day I was walking again. This time, my perps are blocking it because I have a brain-computer interface. They're able to block my meds that I take orally. They blocked the prednisone. That it's not working. The ER also prescribed hydrocodone. The perps blocked that. And so the thing is, like I said, I've been basically unable to walk for 10 days. And I'm concerned that, this is going to continue because they can keep me crippled this way, blocking all of any kind of pain med that I take. And I have,
Do you have a question?
Where do I go from here? I can't tell the ER people that I'm a TI, that, what they prescribe is blocked. And at this point, I guess I'll be crippled.
Well, first of all, you can do things to help yourself. You can get water pillows. And even if you're sitting around the house, because it's the water that absorbs the microwaves. So you get water pillows or take a water bottle, you put them around you, because most of us have a pretty good idea where we are when we get hit. Also, if you're getting hit, one of the easiest and best things you can do is move, because they have to recalibrate everything. If you're getting hit, and I got this from Dr. Duncan years and years ago, go get in water, get in the shower, get in the tub. And listen, if you have to sit there for quite a while, that's what you do to protect yourself. So there's different things that we can do. I know I've used Mylar blankets back in the day, but it was the water pillows that did the trick for me. And, this was, like I said, given to me by Dr. Duncan many, many years ago. And it was Richard Lighthouse who told me about the water pillows. And they're online, so you can do that to help yourself. The second part is that, yeah, I understand. Going to New York, going to a doctor is very scary. But you don't tell them what has happened. You let them try to figure it out. So if you go in there claiming this, claiming that, that's not going to look favorable, right? So you like one time when I wound, I've been in the hospital so many times. So one time I walked into an urgent care center, and I was burned all over. And they asked me what was wrong, and I said, I have a rash. I didn't want to say I'm burned because they would look at me like I was insane. So you don't tell them about this stuff. You let them come to their own decision. So what happened was they took me back into a room, and a doctor came in, a nurse came in, and the doctor took a look at me, and he said, this is not a rash. These are burns. Who did this to you? So we don't tell them anything. That's where TIs get into trouble, and they say too much.
That answer your questions?
Well, I've never told any doctors ever because I know better. When I go to the VA, I just say that my legs are swollen and I'm in a lot of pain. I can't walk. That's all I say. I mean, I do know enough not to say that I'm a TI or mention anything like that or mention dues. I'm just concerned that they're going to keep me crippled now the rest of my life since they can.
You've got to protect yourself. You've got to protect yourself. The prednisone brings down the swelling. I've been given prednisone so many times. And sometimes it might take an additional dosage. No one's blocking the prednisone. Okay, I don't know who you are claiming that's blocking the medication. I don't think that's happening. You just might need a little bit more.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Next question from Midge Mathis as we wrap up our session. Go ahead.
Yes, hi. Thank you very much. Hi, thank you. Thank you.
I have a quick question. I know the administration...
Please, can you wait, please? One person's already talking. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. So you mentioned about a book that was sent to President Trump during his first term in office. And so we now know that the Trump administration currently is about to investigate or has been investigating government waste and government abuse, government waste. So, and our community is learning that they're about to investigate this DNA residence frequency. So I'm very hopeful about this, especially since it's pertaining to, finding the money trail. And maybe they're more interested in the money trail than they are in our health. I don't know. I hope it's both. But so should we be very optimistic about this? This is a new administration, of course, and it's a new time. There's more people that are complaining about this. There's more people that have evidence. I'm one of those people. So should we be optimistic, and what can we do to ensure that the momentum of this, continues in the right direction in regards to maybe reaching to this administration?
Good questions. Well, I think the optimism is up to each person. I try to keep optimistic because why shouldn't I, right? It's better and easier than the opposite. Unfortunately, we have a lot of folks who are very downtrodden and traumatized and stuff, and I know it's very hard to stay positive. But I have to think that there will be help. They know exactly what's going on. More and more people are talking out about it. Sean Ryan, who has his own show, he was talking about people being assaulted by directed energy weapons just the other day, which he never touched the subject before. In August of 2019, a lot of people do not know this, but after Targeted Justice, after we held our rally and did different things, like I said, we were there 3 times and we went back to back. So it was June, July, and August. Bam, bam, bam. And after we had our rally, I was told that there was a special meeting that was held in D.C. and that Dr. Hoffer was there and other key people from Trump's administration, and one of the number one topics of conversation was targeted individuals, and that there is help coming. Now, that was in 2019, and a lot has happened, and a lot of stuff is coming out, but I have to be patient myself because I know that, the deep state is very powerful. It's a lot more involved than what we think. So there's just a lot to it. And I do believe with my whole heart that the program can be taken down by state. Every state is different. Department of Homeland Security, who funds it, so forth and so on, is different for every state because the fusion centers are funded by, part of it is funded by the Fortune 500 companies. So there's a lot of people involved. It's not as easy as we think, but I still I have to stay hopeful. Yes.
Okay, very good. I think we have another question from someone else coming in. I'm sorry to wrap it up so quick.
Hi.
That's okay.
Am I in?
You are.
Yep.
Hi, I'm Jessica from Minnesota, and I've positively had a scan and then went and saw the neurosurgeon. She's affiliated with confirming the scans and now going to an advocate. But you said, the doctor, that's kind of, I guess they're supposed to help me advocate, like how to go and ask the questions. Is there any advice, we can say to the doctor, okay, I know what my question. First of all, the scans, on the bottom it says it's not legal in court, right, until you get the proof. So if I take that with the neurosurgeon stuff, she's ordering a PET scan for me because I have swelling on the brain too. If I get that, and is that going to be submittable, the scan?
I'm just a messenger here today, and so you'll have to talk that over with your medical team who did the scans and your neurosurgeon or any of your doctors. You should have a team. And so I'm hesitant to answer that question.
Well, because I'm not. I get it confirmed by Dr. Shajenko. She's picked up the frequency. She wrote that stuff down. She did, in a sense, confirm, with the guy that did my scan. So, I'm just wondering if that's going to be substantial enough. Well, I suppose then I have to get moved, right? Yeah. All right. Well.
Yeah. I'm going to repeat myself here. Be careful what you say on these podcasts. Do not put up any of your personal information, and that is to protect you, but also to protect the professional, which is our obligated. We are obligated to do that. Okay. So please do not ever talk about who's helping you, who's on your team. You don't say their names on these podcasts.
I did, didn't I? Oh, shoot. Okay. Yep.
Okay. All right.
Well, thank you for that. Next question before we wrap this up for the book club. Come on in.
I have a quick question.
Go ahead.
You had said that you think it could be brought down by the states. I'm just curious, how do you visualize it?
Well, like I said, every single state is run a little differently. It's according to what contracts they're getting from the government, because it says federally funded, and also who the Fortune 500 companies are that are supporting the fusion centers. So, it's easier to do it state by state, and once one state starts to fall, the rest will start to fall. But in my mind, as I've always have seen it, it's easier to start small and then you build big. So that's how I see it. I know other people see it differently, but I think that if we take it state by state, because some people in some states have more information and they have proof of what has happened, like with myself in Arizona, because I, know the names, I know who's involved, I've had the scans, I've been in the hospital so many times, I have a diagnosis of ionizing radiation and non-ionizing radiation. There was an investigation. Every single state has a regulatory agency, an ionizing regulatory agency for radiation, and so they know what's happening. So there was an investigation that was opened up with the Arizona State Radiation Regulatory Agency. Every state has a regulatory agency. So there's so many different levels to all this, but I look at it as it can be brought down state by state.
Well, thank you for that. We're now at the top of the hour. We need to take a quick break for a moment, and we're going to get ready for the book club. So let's announce that now, and I'll take a brief break from our questioning. So we'll be right back after this brief, important information about our book club, and it is now at 206 members strong.
It's time for the TI Book Club, where every book opens a door to new worlds and shared journeys. Here, we uncover hidden gems, specially selected for TIs, and always within your reach. Be part of a community that reads together, grows together, and sees the world through the same lens. Don't just listen to stories, live them with us. Join now at bookclubs.com/TIBookClub/join, and let's turn the pages of adventure together.
Yes, and the book we talked about during this interview is available on the book club. I'll just make this quick because we're having hot talk with Midge Mathis. So we're going to get right back to that. The book club book is The Age of AI by Henry Kissinger, Eric Schmidt, and those are two big culprits that will probably use AI as a weapon, and they probably have, and they've probably been involved with it for quite some time. Eric Schmidt is a very big, high-level, high-tech executive and in Silicon Valley, and Henry Kissinger is the Death Star man. He's been behind many things in this world that's gone on, and now he's telling you how AI works. And they mention that it's being weaponized. It also mentions a Turing test where you can do the imitation game and see if the machine sounds like a human. Well, I think we've made it to the Turing test level now, and that's what the book talks about. So anyway, this week's book club is The Age of AI, Henry Kissinger, Eric Schmidt. Check it out. It's interesting to hear what the devils are talking about. Now we're going to go back to Midge Mathis and questions and answers. Does anybody have a question for Midge? Come on in.
Hi, my name's Grace. I'm calling from California.
Come on in, Grace.
Hi, lots of questions. So I don't know the best one for this call, but I just want to quickly share a couple things that I learned today that I didn't know that might be valuable for everyone on the call, or some. I'll make it super quick. Redacted came out with a new thing that came this afternoon. He's interviewing a guy who was a whistleblower regarding what's happening at the South Pole. He got targeted, and the whole show is about targeted energy weapons, the program, and so I thought that might be amazing to hear for some people.
Great. Who is this? I didn't catch the name.
Yeah, on the Redacted. It's the name of the show is Redacted.
I watch it all the time. Yeah, it's on YouTube. Check it out.
Yeah, so the most recent episode that came on today. And then otherwise, I was listening to an interview with, she keeps coming up on my feed, Shanahan, Nicole. And she was interviewing somebody about, I don't remember which interview it was, but about, really bad, crazy things going on. And the topic became, well, how do people get through to President Trump, to this administration to get help? It wasn't specifically about what we're going through, but she made it just a very matter-of-fact comment. She said, well, if you tweet Susie Wiles, the gatekeeper, and a lot of people tweet Susie Wiles, it could be successful getting through to him. So anyway, just thought I'd drop that. And then quickly, the woman that isn't walking, may I have a minute, literally a minute, because I went through this and I was in a wheelchair and horror before I even knew I was a TI 20 years ago. And I had the same thing. And I got diagnosed with a rare disease called reflex sympathetic dystrophy at a teaching school, pain whatever clinic at in University San Francisco, one of those schools. So if you can get to a pain doctor who specializes in pain management and see if they can rule in or out RSDS, reflex sympathetic dystrophy syndrome, and then if that doesn't happen, if she can just look up online contrast baths for her feet, that is the most effective thing, way more than any any morphine or any cortisone. Cortisone will just destroy you anyway. Give it a try and get moving as best you can, or keep your feet moving and your ankles moving and feet elevated.
Do you have a question for Midge Mathis?
Yeah, hi Midge. Thanks for coming on this call. You've said some very valuable things. Thank you. What do you recommend? What do you recommend, Midge? This is the microwaving illnesses for over 40 years, and it's gotten to the point. I moved to a new city in California that's, I didn't know, targeting to be like this, and it's been over a year now, and the consequences to me are I'm barely functioning, and I am like I did 2 careers sick, and I'm a pusher and I'm a doer, and they are making me incapacitated, brain and body, and I'm wondering. Go ahead. I'd like to.
Do you have a question?
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out which part of this could be the mind control stuff, because that's something I feel like I could have an effect on in the right direction. The physical part is a little harder, and I'm trying to discern, which parts of this might be the mind control. And I loved it when you talked about, well, if you stay at home and you've lost track of time, and you named it. So that kind of thing is happening to me for the first time in decades of this here. And so I think go ahead.
It goes on all the time. I mean, all of us who have high tinnitus, the mind control stuff, we have to use discernment, and we have to be aware of ourselves, and that's why I tell you the steps to do what Kathy O'Brien has suggested, and get out in nature. Get away from this stuff. Get off the computer. Get off your phone. Because sometimes the more we focus on our problems, the worse it gets, and the more we focus. I have learned to myself that when we help others, we help ourselves. So help others in the community. Please reach out and be each other's best friends.
Oh, I'm sorry. Let me mute my phone. Oh, boy.
Okay, thank you for that. Any other questions for Midge before we wrap this up? Oh, and before you speak, Deb K. wants Gracie to call her. Anyway, go ahead with your question.
Hi, this is Chris from Idaho. Thank you so much for the call. Very great information. My question is, well, I've been a TI for 9 years. The thing is that I am so heavily gang stalked and under surveillance. But my question is, every single thing, even my whole family is involved with it. But what's happening is all the movements that I make, all different moves and hand gestures, and every single friend that I hang out with, every family member, everybody walking down the street, everybody's doing all the same hand gestures that I'm doing. I mean, it's out of control. And now what I'm seeing is is on television. I'm seeing people all on the television doing the exact same thing. How can that be possible? I mean, is it by frequency on the television? Or
I have no
how
idea.
does that
But
work?
listen, you know what? Just ignore it. So what? It's a hand signal. And sometimes we look for those things once we're aware some of that stuff is going on, and we actually make it worse for ourselves. So, you know, I've been around TIs who are like, look at that, look at that. And I look, and I'm like, what? Oh, that guy touched his ear. Oh, for goodness sake, so what? Some of this stuff we need to just put aside. It has nothing to do with the big picture. And like I said, the more we focus on things, sometimes the more we'll see it. And the less we give it any strength in our life, don't do it. Don't give it any strength, you know. Get away from it. Do what you can. I've been heavily gang-stalked as well. I've been gang-stalked by Bill Gates' water company. I've been gang-stalked by Ecolab, and he owns Ecolab, okay? So I know about gang-stalking a lot. But the more you ignore, the better off you will be.
No, I do totally ignore, and I do go out in nature, and I do all of those things. But it seems like the more that I do that the more that it happens. I mean, how I see it on the television. As soon as I turn on the television, the people start doing it, right? And how does that work, though? How does that work?
I don't know. I'm not the one, you know, making any of this stuff happen. But honestly, personally, I wouldn't care. Because I am more concerned about who's running this program and how to stop it. I am more concerned about helping my fellow man, my fellow TI, than about something that's on TV. Okay, so if I were you, I would turn the TV off.
Yeah, that's right. All right, thank you so much.
Thank you, Midge, for that. Thank you for your question. Anybody else before we wrap this up? Come on in. It's Midge Mathis. Rare opportunity to talk to Midge.
Hi, I have a question real quick.
Go ahead.
I know that like the Trump administration, like Tulsi Gabbard was targeted, as well as the FBI director. Do you think that they're getting directed energy weapons as well?
Yes.
Cash Patel, he wrote his book. Are they getting that as well? Because they don't talk about that portion of it.
No, they do not. But I can guarantee you that there are people in Congress who are full-blown TIs. I had one of them when I was visiting the offices that whispered something into my ear, and I promised that I would never identify him, but he is a full-blown TI. And so when I say this isn't a secret, it is not a secret. It is a wealthy man's club. It's not your gang stalkers that are putting you on the terrorist watch list. The gang stalkers hold no power. They are told what to do. They are low men on the totem pole. And I know a lot of people will not agree with me on this, but they do not have these weapons. That's an impossibility. They do have lasers. And if you're driving down, the road and you're, beside a stalker, I've had this happen to me where they use that laser to point it at their outside mirror, and then it bounces back to me. So what you do, you just carry a little mirror with you and bounce it back to them. They'll stop. So, there's things you can do, So I would carry, even if you have a CD, just, bounce it back to them. So you can, and so, it'll stop. But there was a time when, they were burning my eyes a lot, and they were doing different things. And if some of you are getting burned, and you're getting burned deeply, and I know it's horrible, but what's happening is that it is absolutely burning the muscles, so that the muscles, your face will look like it's falling, and you will feel like it's falling. So they were burning my eyes so badly that my optometrist said, your eyes are going to fall out, because the muscles were getting destroyed, and it couldn't hold my eyeballs in. So I do have pictures, and it's horrific. They're fine now. But I do have permanent damage. So you just do things, you learn things, how to protect yourself, and you have to do it. So, there was a time in Phoenix, because it gets so hot and I'd be burned and I'd have to go to the bank. And please keep your sense of humor, because that goes a long way. So I would put, bags of ice cubes under my hat. I always had to wear a hat. And if you are getting burned, please wear a hat. Don't go out, especially in the summer, without one, because you need to protect your skin. But I would go to the bank with the ice cubes in a baggie under my hat. And, of course, I knew all the tellers and stuff. And one time I'm standing there, and all of a sudden one of the bags decided to start dripping down my face. And, well, what do you do, right? You feel really stupid. But I just started laughing. And I said, I bet you're wondering why water's dripping down my face. I got really hot. I put a bag of ice under my hat, tried to make a joke out of it. So if you can keep your sense of humor, that goes a long way.
Do you think President Trump is hit with weapons?
I have no idea. I'm not President Trump. I don't know.
Well, thank you for your questions. We're about to wrap it up. Anyone else have a question for Midge Mathis?
I have a quick
Midge,
one. Yeah. I was just wondering what you did for your eyes.
Oh, gosh, my poor eyes. Well, I did a lot of things. I had a really good doctor, and he knew exactly what was going on. I would have to put ice on my eyes to try to get the muscles to retract and to hold my eyes in. I had to use water pillows diligently every single night. I had to make sure that I wore hats every time I went outside, which I still do. So I did a whole series of things, but what has happened to my eyes is that I have a hole in my cornea in my left eye from all the damage. My right eye, I have, my eyes don't track the same. So the left eye will track. The right eye stops at a certain point, so I see double.
I have the eye problem too. My eye is crooked.
Yeah, exactly. So I've also had cataract surgery. I had to have new lenses put in. But see, all of this is, because I've had such severe burns that, I call it the Shar-Pei phase, where you look like a Shar-Pei dog, where all the muscles fall on your face and it's so gross looking, but I call myself a Shar-Pei because that's what I look like. And so, there's not a whole lot that I haven't been through, to tell you the truth, but I am so blessed to have such good friends, and I am so blessed to have wonderful TI friends. And I would like all of you to do the same. I want you to start a buddy system. So when you have a bad day or something has happened to you, you call your buddy and you talk it over with them, and you tell them what's going on. And in turn, you are there for them as well. So, back in the day when Ella was in the community, she was my friend, and we would keep each other on the phone until we started laughing. We would tell funny stories or something goofy that had happened, to us. And so if you can do that with someone to where you stay on the phone and you make them laugh, that's a good day. And you're beating the system. You're turning into a winner instead of letting these guys destroy you. Don't let them.
What mirrors do you use? Because the mirrors I use for the laser aren't working anymore.
Well, I don't know what to tell you. Go get some more mirrors. I just had regular hand mirrors. And I also, one day, I picked up a CD, the backside of the CD, because that will reflect. So
they have to be the old mirrors. The old, like that gray in the back of them.
No, it doesn't. I had a regular hand mirror that I keep in my car, because these are lasers, and they come in all different sizes. Yeah, they're small lasers that they use in doctor's offices and stuff. There's other big ones that do more damage.
Right.
So,
they're dropping my face too.
Okay. Well,
Okay.
If you're getting burned, guys, one of the best things you can use is Desitin. That will stop the burning, and it helps to heal. And that was told to me by a paramedic, a firefighter. That's what they carry. That's what they carry out in the field when they treat burn victims. The prescription that works like a miracle is Silverdene cream. It has silver in it.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for that information. We're about to wrap up the Q&A session with Midge Mathis. Anyone else before we turn off the recording?
Well, let's see. My name is Amelia. I'm from Los Angeles, California. This is maybe a little off topic.
I'm from Lodi, and I'm your west over there in the Northern California, or what? Southern. I'm Northern. Hello.
Hello. Well, I just wanted to convey this information. Everyone can look this up. eBay was involved in the gang stalking scandal a few years back. They were charged like $3 million for a gang stalking charge. The company eBay. Everyone can Google this. And then there's another article you can check out. It's like basically the dynamics of gang stalking. If you was to read this article, it's basically everything I'm going through. The only difference is that I'm not in Sonoma County. I'm in Los Angeles County, so that's the only difference. Mm-hmm. But the name of the article, everyone can write this down. You can Google it.
Did you have a question for Midge?
Yes.
Yeah, we're all aware that was the Santa Clara Police Department. The sergeants were involved. They quit working for the police and started working for eBay and security, and they put pigs and dead animals on the front door of some people that reviewed eBay and other online sales sources, and they tried to scare them to death and got caught. Yeah.
Oh, so you guys are aware of that? Okay, of that article. I just give you this one last article. I promise this is the last article. It's called "Are You Stalking an Innocent Victim?" A-R-E, then Y-O-U, then stalking, then Anna spell A-N, innocent victim, ? It's a patch article. Read that article entirely. Everything I'm going through in that article is just, I'm not in Sonoma County. I'm in Los Angeles, and that's it. That's all.
Okay, thank you for that. Anybody else? Nobody's asking Midge any questions. You're just making statements. That's okay. Midge, do you have anything else, or we're going to wrap it up?
I have a question, please.
Another question for Midge Mathis. Go ahead.
Yes, Midge, so when we're talking about the seriousness of these crimes, so we know it's the deep state. This is an ultra-rich society, if you will, a group of people. How is it, though, that they get away with murder, literally? How is it that murder? Mm-hmm.
Well, look at all the stuff that has been never have we ever known the truth about 9/11. We don't know, have Epstein ring. I mean, we've been lied to about so many things. And there is an elitist group in this country, in this government, and they're protected. And they're powerful. They're very, look what just happened just look what happened with COVID. I mean, that has opened a lot of eyes. Look what happened to the J6ers. And we can just go on down the line. Look what happened in Lahaina in Hawaii. So, I mean, it's absolutely horrific what has been allowed to happen.
Mm-hmm. And we think that people like the people like some of the names that we've mentioned tonight, that they are aware of this kind of targeting, that it's actually taking our family members. They are aware of it.
Yeah, they're aware of everything. I mean, like I just gave a bunch of examples that, it's totally out there. And they're blocking a lot of the investigations into 9/11. They'll probably never let that truth come forward. It's an inside job. Do I think where all of this is related? Absolutely. Absolutely. Because you know, they did the brain.
My targeting started after 9/11. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, this is when they kicked it into high gear, and they did the unpatriotic Patriot Act, and then the Brain Initiative, and we can just go on down the line. I mean, this is horrific.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Midge. I think that wraps it up. I don't think there's anyone else left. Thank you, Midge, for coming by.
You betcha. It was my pleasure. So I don't do podcasts much anymore. And so I'm really rusty, so I apologize if I kind of jumped around because it's been a while. So I'm sorry. But I always try to get in.
You got a lot of people are listening, and you'll have a lot more people watching the podcast afterwards, and they'll contact me in the comment section.
Okie dokie. So.
Okay, thank you for watching on your favorite platform, BitChute, Rumble, archive.org, YouTube, or listening to us on Spotify. Please like, subscribe, and make a comment. I do read my comments because they notify me when you make one. Anyway, we'll be ending this recording now and switching to open mic, and I'm sure Midge will probably be here for a little while longer in case you have a question for her. We're going to end the recording now. Thank you for watching.